Hello YouTube, it's Signing with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. This is the first manga review of the stuff that I read in July, which is weird because it's like basically the end of the month. I'm only going to be able to release one of these before the end of the month since I have all of my end of the month videos to do beforehand. But hopefully this is fun. So today we are reviewing Fire Force volumes 1 and 2. Let me actually show them to you. Oops. Here you go. This is volume 1 and volume 2. These are our two most important characters so far. This is Shinra. This is Arthur. And the author here is Atsushi Okubo, the creator of Soul Eater, which is pretty cool. Soul Eater is one of the first anime that I distinctly remember that I know was anime, or that I knew was anime when I was watching it. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I think I watched it on Netflix all the way back when I was like a teenager. And this is made by Kodansha, or released by Kodansha, as you guys can see right there. I think it's also owned by Kodansha in Japan, so that's pretty cool. And the demographic here is shonen. I think this is on the same magazine as Fairy Tail and Eden Zero, which is Weekly Shonen Sunday, I think. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember what it is. But yeah, the genres here are action, dark fantasy, and science fiction to an extent. I mean, there's a lot of scientific elements to the way the story unfolds. It's not about magic per se. There's like distinct genetic and logical reasons why things are the way they are. We just don't know them yet, and that's kind of part of the series. It's kind of finding these things out, so it's kind of interesting. And yeah, I guess you could also argue that there's a certain element of diesel or maybe steampunk aesthetic to this series, but it's definitely set in the modern world. It just has this kind of like vibe of like older stuff with like modern technology, if that makes sense. I think diesel punk is the correct terminology for that, but I'm not exactly sure, so if it's not, let me know down in the comments. And adaptations wise, this does have an anime. It's actually probably the thing that made this series so popular. The anime is supposed to be very well animated and very good. So yeah, there you go. And yeah, I don't know. The premise here is basically that in a world where people spontaneously combust, we follow our main character Shinra, a Fire Force recruit. Fire Force are the people that fight these spontaneous combustions. And we follow him and his company number 8, as you guys can see on his hat right there, as they try to unravel the mystery behind these infernals, these combusted people, and behind Shinra's own past, his own kind of like traumatic events with fire. And yeah, it's very good. And we basically follow them as they kind of try to stop these infernals from plaguing Tokyo. And I think it's really cool. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very interesting premise. And I think Okubo does a very good job with this series. So the plotline here is super solid. It's relatively unique for a shonen series. It's still a classic, very standard demon fighting kind of series in the line of Bleach and stuff like that. I think Bleach is like the big demon fighting manga of the modern era. And most of them kind of derive from Bleach. It's a battle shonen, and it has this kind of interesting start with a few short missions, these kind of like little arcs that kind of lead into this larger mystery to unravel. And I really enjoyed this aspect at the end of volume 1, which was kind of like, here, let's throw them into a tournament arc. And then the tournament arc never happened because it was hijacked in order to create this kind of mysterious encounter with the maybe big bad of the series. And I thought that was very good. I really enjoyed that because most of the modern shonen, especially the ones in Shonen Jump, which this is not part of, have this kind of idea of throwing in a quick tournament arc at the beginning of the series before it moves on to like the larger story, which I think is partially to create a lot of quicker action as opposed to like big three type of era shonen that kind of took a long time to get to where there was a lot of action, and also to kind of move the pace along quicker. And we see this in Kaiju number 8. We see this in My Hero Academia. Black Clover basically does this too. Like, it's a very kind of common thing in more 2010 and forward kind of series, which I think this is. So it's pretty interesting. I kind of like to see these patterns that emerge once you start reading a lot of manga that kind of are interesting, right? So I thought the tournament bait and switch was really good. And yeah, the plot line is good. It's unique in the sense that it's a mystery to unveil or to find or fix or solve, whatever. Because it's not like unique for demon hunting series, but it is kind of like handled slightly differently in a way that I kind of really enjoy. Because if I remember correctly, in Bleach, there really isn't a mystery. Like, Rukia tells Ichigo everything off the bat, and I've not really read Demon Slayer, but there really isn't that much of a mystery there either. And I guess the only other demon hunting manga that has that kind of mystery element is Blue Exorcist. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a very cool kind of relatively unique way of storytelling or plotline development that isn't that common in these type of subcategory of battle shonen. So yeah, characters wise, I think they're all really funny and enjoyable, and actually kind of like a lot of them, which is kind of interesting. I don't usually like the big introduced cast early on. It takes a while. They all have to get their own little character arc, but off the bat, I really enjoy most of these characters, so that's pretty good. Shinra is our most important character. He's the main character, of course. He's kind of edgy, but he's also really like generically strong and idealistic in the very kind of like traditional shonen hero kind of way, but he has a little bit of an edge to him, and he's edgy in that sense. He's kind of like a little bit emo in the sense that he has a traumatized past, like a lot of other generic battle shonen heroes, but he doesn't have this kind of like overtly optimistic kind of thing. And the trauma that he suffered as a kid really actually does affect him today as an adult. That's why he has that really creepy, demonic smile. It's very cool. I think it's very interesting how he kind of develops differently from other shonen protagonists. And then we have Arthur, who is essentially this kind of really chuny character, but also like a weeaboo for English mythology, if that makes sense. Like, he's really into the whole kind of Arthurian legend thing, or at least that's kind of like his design and his name and stuff come from. And this kind of idea that he's a knight and all of the women around him are princesses to be charmed and saved. And I think it's actually kind of funny. Like, he's really corny, but like in a really funny way. I really enjoy him, and I really like the kind of interactions that he and Shinra have as the demon and the knight kind of characters. And I think it's very cool. I really enjoy these kind of like assigned roles that don't really fit with the actual like way that the characters are, but that also is like symbolic of their situation in a fantasy setting. So I think it's very fun. And then there's a lot of other characters. There's Captain Obi, who's this badass mentor, and I really like him. He's a kind of a Jiraiya kind of character, or the Yami character more than anything. He's this guy that doesn't really have powers, but he still has a very strong moral sense. He even kind of looks like Superman in the kind of classical Clark Kent kind of way. And he wants to clean up the Fire Force and stuff like that, and I really like him. There's also Maki, who is this powerhouse female character. She would be kind of like the Urza Scarlet of Fire Force, but she's kind of like the witch of the team. If Shinra is the demon and Arthur is the knight, she is the witch. And I really like the outfit that they gave her to like visualize that. She has this really cool witch hat with the Fire Force logo on it, and this skirt and this kind of like, I don't know, really like classy kind of genie-esque kind of vibe to her. I thought it was really good. I liked it. And I really like her as a character because she's very like, not like a traditional shonen female character. I mean, she's a character that definitely shows up in a lot of shonen, but like she's better. I don't know. I don't know why I think this. I just enjoy her. Hanabi is also very interesting. She's kind of this vaguely antagonistic force. She's not really antagonistic in like the way that she's evil, but more in the way that she's not really aligned with our main character and his goals, and so she comes off as a bad guy. So it's pretty interesting. But there's a lot of other characters here that I really don't find that amazing. So there's that. I mean, these are kind of the ones that I really care about. World building wise, it's solid. I really like this idea of the nature of the infernals that is mysterious and that maybe someone does know, but they don't want to tell everyone else. And there's this kind of like corruption that kind of occurs within the fire force that leads to people wanting to make money and continue to have to save people from these infernals instead of like fixing the problem, which is kind of interesting. It kind of adds this kind of a sense of realism because that's what companies do, I guess. And yeah, I think it's really good that that's also part of the plot. It's not just kind of like evil guy is evil for the sake of evil. It's like for the sake of money, which is maybe not better, but is a little bit more understandable than just being evil for the sake of being evil. And I really like the key points explained about the nature of the infernals without like giving too much away. So you kind of understand, but you need to know a lot more, which is why you would read the series. And I really like the magic / power system here. It's very good. It's all fire based. It's all about ignition and flame and flame-esque byproducts and like other types of plasma. So like Arthur, his lightsaber kind of thing is him superheating something in order to create a plasma beam, which is really cool. That's exactly how people would assume that lightsabers work if we were able to create them in real life. So very cool stuff there. There's characters that can control the spark created when a piece of metal hits a piece of rock in order to deviate bullets and stuff like that. It's a very cool concept. There's different tiers of powers. There's second generation people that can only control fire that is created by other people, and then there's people that can create their own fire, which are third generation fire people. And every power is unique. Everything is different, and a lot of it doesn't necessarily make sense for fire to be able to control it, but like it all works really nicely and it's very cool. I really enjoy it. The power system is very unique. I like it a lot. Now, the art here is badass. The infernals look amazing. They have some of the coolest kind of crazy design I've seen. They just have this very nice kind of like shadowy vibe to them that I really like a lot. Let me see if I can find a good one. Right there. Yeah, that one. It's really cool looking. I just really enjoy how the art changes a little bit in order to give them this kind of alien appearance. And I really like the character design a lot. All of it is very good. I really like these kind of firefighter kind of suits that aren't really for firefighters. It's very good. I just like it a lot. It's very well done. Fan service wise, I think there's a lot. And some of it is kind of at odd times, but I guess it is a comedy element. Not only, I mean, it serves two purposes. One is to get young men to read this because boobies and sex sells. Okay, fair. The other is to portray this kind of comedy that also goes in with that first reason. And I don't think it's horrible. But it is not the best. I will agree with that. Sometimes it kind of comes off as like, why did you do this, Mr. Okubo? But I mean, it's also not that big of a deal. If you don't like fan service, don't read this. However, if you can tolerate it, I would definitely recommend that you do read it, even if you don't necessarily like fan service, because to me, fan service is such a small, kind of mostly meaningless, and rather inoffensive situation, and not reading something that is potentially a great story so far, and based on what people say, it is a great story. over, if that makes sense. Like, a very dumb reason to not read something that's really good. Fair, everyone can have their own opinions and not, you know, give in to certain things. Like, I'm not going to read this because I don't like fan service. Fair. But I mean, to me personally, it seems like a very bad reason to not read something that is potentially very good. Because there's always going to be stuff that is problematic in every artwork, in every art piece, in every story, because it's made by people. So there you go with that, I guess. I got on my little soapbox a little bit, but hopefully it's not horrible. Okay, so rating-wise, I'm not really sure. I wrote down 3.5, or 3 out of 5 here. But I think that at the time of writing this, sorry, about a month ago, I was kind of in a kind of like a lot harsher mood than I am now. Looking back on it, I think it deserves a 4 out of 5. I really like it. I think the world building is great. The art is good. The characters are interesting, and the plot line is quite good. I don't really have anything to complain about, but it hasn't blown me away just yet, if that makes sense. I think generally I'm very like happy to give good scores, but it's always like from going from good to amazing that I kind of fall short, right? So I think a 4 out of 5 is pretty good. So yeah, I definitely recommend this title, and I don't necessarily know that I have a similar title. I mean, basically any other demon hunting battle shonen is going to be relatively similar. There's quite a few of those. There's Blue Exorcist, which might be the most similar, because it has this kind of like vague religious connotation the same way this one does. Deals a lot with fire, and there's a big mystery to solve. So I think Blue Exorcist is probably the most similar to Fire Force. However, there's also Bleach, Black Torch, Demon Slayer, Soul Eater itself. You know, there's a bunch of different titles like this one in that same kind of subgenre. So if you like one of these, you probably will like this one as well. And if you like Fire Force, you'll probably like one of those that I mentioned. So yeah. Now, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. See you guys later.